So, it's been a really long time. What's going on, my fellow residents? It's me, TheFrozenCavern, and today we're going to continue or finish, I don't know which, our journey through Over the Hedge. The last part is going to be very long, I'll just state that. But last episode, which was like almost a whole month ago, I am so sorry for that. I'll get to that later. But last episode, we found a way to track down Heather, and we also had to protect the woods. But in this episode, first off, I went over there, but first off, we gotta switch characters as usual, and I have to hear them in the background. So who do we have? Yeet! RJ, good. Because RJ's like my favorite character to play as, and it's going to be a long segment, and Hammy. I'll be fine with having Hammy here. I don't really care too much about having Hammy. As long as I have RJ or Vern, I'm good. I don't want both Stella and Hammy for this last segment, but this is going to be a very long level.
What do y'all say we name this hedge?
How about Linda? How about impassable?
Guys, please. How many times do I have to remind you? You're with a raccoon. Ta-da!
Look out!
Relax, Stella. Statues are nothing to be afraid of.
RJ, stand by that pile of leaves.
Now you're thinking like a raccoon. Hey, Marble Breath, over here!
You mean we actually had a plan that worked?
Don't question good fortune. Just run!
Meaning that probably wasn't exactly a plan, but whatever. But oh goodness, I will just state this again. This is a very, very long level, and this will also depend on whether this is going to be 2 parts or not. Because there's this level, and then there is still one after, which is the final boss of the game. And then there's also the credit sequence, which does add some more time, so... oh goodness.
Burn deck in all its glory. Let's get in there and save Heather before someone else does.
By the way, ignore the frame. That's something that we're going to ignore quite greatly. But first off, let's just get the whole thing about the whole month-long hiatus for Let's Plays out of the way. So, yeah, sorry about that, but like, graduation, I had that recently, and by recently I mean like almost 2 weeks now. But it's been fun with my high school experience, but now I'm going to be going to college soon, as in like 2 months. About 2 months from when you guys are seeing this, but at the same time, oh goodness, I've just been busy. It's like just been super busy, and I haven't really been able to sit down and do Let's Plays while also having to keep up with YouTube videos and a bunch of other things. Like I've been doing like mashups and junk, so I've still been staying quote-unquote relevant, or at least alive, I guess, when it comes to doing YouTube, but at the same time, like the main point of my channel is to do Let's Plays, and I haven't exactly been doing that much recently, so kind of need to get back on that, especially with the fact that I should be done with the 2 Let's Plays that I have by now. And when I actually looked to see how much time was like in between this episode and the last one, I'm like, this is really bad, I need to get back into doing this. But anyways, my usual editing style should be, well, that's not even that. It's more of the fact that like I just haven't done this in a while. The editing style will still be the same, but it's just, oh goodness, I just need to get back into the groove of things, and it'll all work out. But for right now, I just have to remember everything. Well, most of the time, the game's pretty straightforward about what you need to do anyways, so it should be fine on that end, but oh goodness. By the way, you guys will know whether this is the finale episode or not, because in the actual title it'll say finale, but if it doesn't say finale, then there's still one more part that I have to do.
12 seconds later.
And also, speaking of the whole Let's Play things, I made an update video about the whole graduation situation that I have, and the thing that I mentioned is that I'm going to be slimming down on Let's Plays a little bit. I'm not going to be getting rid of them. That's still going to be around. And I also made up like a Twitter poll thing, and it's like almost halfway right now, which is surprising, about whether I should continue Let's Plays or stop. I'll continue after the cutscene though.
I don't want to hurt you, little marsupialis. I just have a nice hat for your head.
Help me! Help!
Ha! You think you're the first possum to try and get on this elevator? Guess again.
That's a very, very specific situation of another possum getting onto that elevator, but whatever. So, anyways, on Twitter, I did end up asking, like, should I end up stopping Let's Plays? That way, I had room to do other content, as well as the fact that, like, I'm going to college soon, so I'm not going to have too much time in order to actually do, like, 2 Let's Plays at the same time. So I'll leave that in the description, by the way. But anyways, we have a bunch of rooms that we need to go into throughout this entire level, and oh goodness, these levels are filled with quite a lot of enemies, and some of them more annoying than others, but we'll manage. Okay, I'm just gonna boot you into the corner, and there we go. You die, there we go. So as long as we can just boot those guys over into the corner, we'll be fine. I do need to make sure that you're hit into the corner though. Hammy's being a little bit annoying, but it's fine. You did not die. Please die. There we go. And as usual, there's a bunch of other stuff around here. We actually almost have all the CDs in the game. I know we missed like one in the last episode, which is unfortunate. And I probably ended up missing another one somewhere else in the entire game. But if it really only ends up being one CD left out of all of them, I know exactly kind of where it is. And I know why I missed it. And it's dumb because the game is rather unfair when it comes to giving you that one. Okay, I'm gonna leave you to that while I destroy all this other stuff up here. Okay, nothing it seems like. That's unfortunate. And come on, die already. Actually, I have my gun. Let me pull that out so I can use that. There we go. Now, as the game obviously indicated for us, we have to run over to this switch, and then there's another one all the way up here that we have to press. Even though it was a little bit obvious, I mean, the camera angle shows both of them, so there's almost no way you can miss it. And I don't think there's a time limit for it, but I'm not sure. But anyways, there's 4 rooms that we need to go into, so that way we can pull those switches so that elevator will end up opening so that we can go and get Heather. Why it's so convoluted in order to get into an elevator, I do not know. But we just have to deal with it anyways. Now, I'm forgetting exactly what the secondary goals are. Let me just get over here. There we go. Don't set off a camera trap, which I think is actually like the lasers we just saw. Destroy every object in Vermtech. I have no idea if I'm doing that so far. And don't get knocked out of the elevator, which is way later on in the level, so we're not going to worry about that for right now. By the way, the entryway for the doors are a little bit difficult to see, but it's not the worst thing in the world. If you know where you're going, then it's fine, but if you don't, then it can be a little bit difficult to actually see your way through into the doors. Okay, thank you, camera. Oh no, armadillos. I hate these things so much. I'm just gonna try and get rid of these guys. Unless Hammy gets in the way. Okay. This guy actually has some kind of smoke trail behind him, which is interesting. I don't know if that does damage over time, though. If it does, that's actually really interesting, and I never knew that. But if it doesn't, then I have no idea what the fire actually does. Because it doesn't really seem to do all that much towards enemies. There we go. Alright, that's 2 of them down. And time for... oh, goodness. Again, it's been a month and I still hate the armadillos. They're definitely my least favorite enemy in the game. There are just times where they take forever to kill because they just go into that stupid defensive state and they'll never get out of it. Unless it's weird because almost every single one of my hits are actually working now, which is weird. Is it just like before this level where the armadillos are actually at their worst? Because basically all of my hits are working just fine, which doesn't make much sense because beforehand it wasn't like that. Okay, I guess they're not going to be nearly as much of a pain as I thought they were. Okay, aside from the fact that armadillos can run away from you and they're kind of as fast as you, so you'll never catch up unless they run into a wall. But other than that, yeah, those armadillos were really easy to defeat for some reason. They just did not have the same effect as like most of the armadillos in the game, which is very weird because that's completely inconsistent and it works out extremely well, so I'll like be happy about it, but at the same time I don't know why they aren't like that all the time. I'm just getting rid of all this other stuff so that we can collect those. And then now this one for a camera angle does make a little bit of sense in case you didn't see this one beforehand because it's kind of on the other side of the room, but at the same time it's a little weird. By the way, again, this is extremely convoluted because you have to go over to that switch and then up there to get through the door. Whatever. I think we unlocked the number 3 door, by the way, and not the number 2 one, but it's fine. Now, if I'm correct, there is some other stuff around in the actual hallways. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm going to check anyways, just in case. No harm in really checking, really. except for almost getting caught. Wait, that was weird. Okay, well, Hammy was clearly in that, but, like, it didn't count for him getting caught. Okay, that was super close. Yeah, again, that's another thing with the camera in this game. If you are running backwards, then you can't really see because the camera angle is kind of set for one particular direction, which is something that can work against you, but most of the time you'll be fine. Alright, so we're halfway through. Just need to be careful when I'm going across here. I can barely see. I did not know I could stand on top of this. That works out really well, actually. So we're just gonna head in here. Alright, time for another gauntlet. Those aren't gophers. Those are the chipmunks. They look kind of similar, except the gophers are, like, way bigger. Okay, this large group of gophers is super annoying. They're all able to just zone you out with their, nuts.
Eventually.
Alright, what other enemies we got? Oh, just more of them. Okay, I'm just gonna use my gun here. This might work out decently well in getting rid of them. Especially if they all just run into the corner. Because this actually has a pretty big area of effect kind of hit. So, if they all just stand right next to each other, it works out super perfectly for me. It's also weird how that one tiny space over there we can't actually go into, I don't think. No, it's just that the enemies don't go in there when we're hitting them for some odd reason. 10 more CDs. Oh, I'm gonna be so upset when I find out that I'm only missing one of them. If it's more than one, that at least makes me feel a little bit better, as weird as that sounds. These gophers also splitting up a lot now, which is annoying. Makes them a lot, well, it makes it take a lot longer to actually defeat these guys. By the way, there aren't really any form of healing items throughout most of these. The only healing you're going to get is from the enemies, and unfortunately, these chipmunks are taking out quite a bit of my health, which is quite, you know, annoying to deal with. Especially with the fact that Hamby actually ended up dying off screen, but we got rid of the chipmunks. And now, of course, we have to deal with the switches here. Oh my goodness, get up there. There we go. So, give me the thing. There we go. And then we have that switch over there. Of course, as usual, every single room has 2 switches to deal with. Again, I don't know if they're timed. If they are, then I won't be surprised, but at the same time, I have no idea, so I'm not going to worry too much about it and just get them as soon as possible. But now we only have one more switch to get. Alright, as usual, just going to be careful. Hammy's not being very, very careful right now because he's not sneaking through the thing there. Alright, move. I have to really hope that there's no things here. I think I heard Hammy just get hit, but I'm not sure. Alright, here's the room. Alright, so what do we have here?
More switches. For me?
Oh, no. Ow. 3 weasels. That's not bad, actually. It's not the worst thing in the world that I could have gotten. Hey, rabbits. I haven't seen these in a good while. Where have these things been? Well, actually, I say that, but they were kind of in the amusement park area, so I guess I'm kind of just forgetting that. By the way, I'm not going to lie. This one segment's probably going to be cut out a lot, because honestly, what else is there to say? We just defeat enemies like we have the other 3 rooms, and then we pull the switches, so there's not really going to be much else changed aside from the rabbits that I mentioned before. Especially with the fact that more weasels are coming out, so again, don't think there's going to be that much of a change. Alright, come on. Die already. There we go. And as usual, we have this switch, and then there's the one up in the top left that we can see there. And it's also being blocked by one of the breakable objects. Now, let's hope that we kind of have all the broken objects right here, otherwise I have no idea where they are, and I kind of don't feel like trying to look for them. Alright, and now we only have one more additional part of health, and okay, that was every object in Worm Tech. That was actually pretty easy to get. Just hit literally everything, which is something you kind of do throughout the rest of the game anyway, so if you're not already doing that, what on earth are you doing? Now that we've broken every single object, we need to get back so that we can actually pull the... not pull the switch, so that we can get onto the elevator. And again, I'm trying to be as careful as possible so that I don't pull off the camera traps. And okay, we're not good yet. There we go. Now we're good. I was about to say, it would have really sucked if we got hit by the very last one. It always sucks when stuff like that happens in games. But now, let us get onto the elevator.
What do you suppose this room's for?
It's a giant gauntlet. That's basically what it is.
Well, a button unpressed is a useless button. I have no idea what I'm doing. When's that ever stopped us?
That is very fair, RJ. So basically what we just did is that we hit every single button. So, you know, that kind of means that there's going to be a super long gauntlet right now, which is very fun. Yeah, we have to go to every single floor. Okay, so I think how this works is that if we are able to dodge the lasers throughout the remainder of the time, we are able to automatically skip ahead to the next floor. However, if we get hit by the lasers, then we have to actually, you know, fight enemies off. Which makes, like, the beginning parts pretty easy, but, who knows. Then again, the lasers also change in speed. No, Hammy, don't you dare. Not now. I don't want you guys jumping on top of... Well, no, I don't want to jump on top of you guys now. This is, like, the worst possible time for that to happen. But anyways, the lasers do change in speed as time goes on, so it might end up being a little bit more difficult to make sure you land on safe land, but at the same time, as long as my CPUs don't mess me up... Oh no, okay, we're good. Okay, so I guess that is how that works, unless it just, in future areas, it's, like you have to defeat enemies anyways. But for right now, I will keep dodging, and oh my goodness, there's more lasers. But we will keep dodging as long as we can, and if we end up tripping one of the lasers, then we trip the laser and there's nothing we can do about it aside from just fight the enemies. And actually, if I manage to get all these first try, then that will leave a lot out in terms of having to fight as well as edit, and that will also make this one video, maybe, instead of having it have to be 2. Hammy's standing in some very weird positions right now, and I don't want him to be where he is. No, they're moving faster. Okay. Something we could just do is that we literally... okay, yeah, that's way easier. And less stressful. We literally just jump in place. Unless Hammy lands on my head. I've never had a situation where a computer has landed on top of my head. I've had plenty of situations where I've landed on the enemies... Well, not enemies, allies' head. But let's hope that we can dodge all them. So I think there's 7 levels here. Okay, this is weird. But I think there's 7 levels, so we should be fine. And by the way, Hammy tripping the lasers doesn't count, as if it wasn't obvious enough. But for right now, I'll be fine. Maybe. This one's very, very weird, so I have no idea. Yep, I tripped it. And of course, it had to be the armadillos. Please be like the ones in this level. Okay, it seems like it. Also, we can fall off the elevator. I don't know exactly where, but I remember in the secondary goals it says we can fall off the elevator, so we'll just have to find wherever that is and hope that we can avoid it. Alright, just one more, and he's like in the corner here, and I don't want to go over to... There we go. I didn't want to go into the corner. Okay, so, please tell me the amount of lasers that I dodge doesn't add to the amount of enemies there are, because that's really dumb if that's the case. And I literally just defeated a wave exactly like this, so I don't know why I'm fighting them again. By the way, I know at least most of this part is going to be skipped, because it's literally the same exact enemies as before. I don't know why they make you fight 2, but... Well, 2 waves, but whatever.
A few moments later.
Okay, there we go. So, what I'm assuming is that the more levels there are, the harder it actually is to actually dodge the lasers. And if you get hit, the harder the punishment, meaning tougher enemies. Okay, this is what... Oh my goodness, they're moving so weirdly. That one laser there is moving so slowly. Okay, yeah, this is definitely more difficult. I actually have to kind of pay attention to this, because I don't want to get hit by any of these. Okay, that was close. Okay. No! Okay, wait, Hammy... I was on top of it. Okay, what on earth? There was no way I was going to dodge that. For some reason, I managed to dodge it, quote-unquote dodge, when I was on top of Hammy. And I was clearly controlling him, too, so I don't know how that worked out like that. But... whatever, I guess. It just works. I don't know why it works, but it does. Now, something I would love to do right now is that I would love to be able to knock them into, like, a corner or something, but badgers don't really have too much of a hit stun. Well, they kind of do, but, like, it's not the most consistent thing, and they'll usually attack right after you finish attacking them anyways, so it's not exactly the safest thing to try and do, so there we go. And again, just like before, we have 2, for whatever odd reason, we have 2 waves of enemies that we have to defeat. So yeah, the punishment is pretty harsh if you get hit. So try your best not to get hit. Like, the first few levels are pretty easy to actually do, so you should be fine throughout most of that. But afterwards, like around where level 4 is, it gets really, really difficult in order to actually dodge the lasers. So Just gotta hope for the best. Wait, does that have an outward hitbox, or is that just a particle effect? Yeah, that's just a particle effect. Okay, I was about to say, that was very weird. I've never noticed that before, where it throws out, like, white orbs. Alright, second wave defeated. Now we're on level 6, if I'm correct. You can see it in the background there. It's a little difficult to see, but you can still see it. So we're on level 6, and there's 7. So, oh goodness, no. Why? Why? Okay, for the most part, this seems pretty good. This doesn't seem too bad. It's not as bad as the last one, but I can guarantee there's going to be like one point in time where it's like, oh, okay, how am I supposed to dodge this? But okay, yeah, it's moving faster now. But then again, the lasers are still pretty spread out, so it's not like they're too difficult to actually dodge. I say that, and then it's going to speed up, and I'll accidentally hit one because it's sped up. Okay, Hammy's hitting a lot of them, so that helps me out a lot, because if Hammy hits them, they technically become invalid, so I don't hit them. I, of course, landed on top of, like, 4. I'm not gonna lie, this is literally, like, the only reason this is going to be so long of an episode. If it ends up being one episode, that is. But now we have some bears to deal with, so, you know, that's... And bears aren't actually that bad. They're actually, like, easier to deal with than the badgers, surprisingly enough.
Later.
Okay, I won't lie, having 2 bears is a little bit threatening, because, like, one of them will constantly be chasing you while you're beating the other one, so... Again, the hit stun for bears is really big, so they're easy to take down, but if you have another bear just constantly chasing after you, it can be a little bit more difficult to actually deal with. And of course, as usual, 2 waves. I'm Hammy now, by the way. Hammy has a lot more health. I'm going to actually need all the health I can get, even though it does switch you over in case you do end up dying as a particular character. Okay, so thank goodness we don't actually have the 7th one. The music is finally back to being calmer. I'm not gonna say calm because this definitely isn't calm. But let's go in.
Being in that room moved the rest of the universe. Come on, you gotta be down this way.
Don't even think about playing possum with me, honey. I'm undefeated.
And there's Heather. However, we do still have one more level that we have to do, which is, of course... Wait. I've never noticed a time where you could get knocked off the elevator. I guess there's like one particular spot, but even then, that's a really, really rare spot to get knocked off at, but whatever. And there's 3 goals before we get our next unlockable, so I'm gonna have to defeat 48 capped animals so that we can actually get the extra unlockable, whatever it is. But I do want to end up getting it mainly because it's there. Why not get it? Plus, defeating 48 capped animals doesn't seem too bad.
What are you afraid of, little wormlet? It doesn't hurt a bit to have your scalp pierced by sharp steel electrodes. Why?
That definitely sounds painful.
Slip up, then we make our move.
There you are. Just hold still. Presto. The perfect weapon. A wrench.
First step's simple. All we gotta do is just take out all those machines lining the room.
After that part, what do we do?
I left that part blank for now.
And that's actually pretty fair, because what are we supposed to expect?
It's almost too good to be true. Say your prayers, Roadkill.
When will the humans learn? I mean, bite his ankle off.
Alright, so, the first part of this, we have to dodge him while he's firing all kinds of guns at us. I think it's... Okay, no, it does vary depending on what actually is fired at us. But, of course, we have to deal with these guys. So, unfortunately, this part's going to be very, very boring because I'm literally just going to sit here until I get the secondary goal because they infinitely spawn. So, that's good, but at the same time, it's like, it's 48 enemies, and to make sure I do end up getting them all, I'm literally just going to sit here and do this. Well, actually, it might be a little bit better if I do this. Aw, they get knocked out. That sucks. Okay. I thought that if I just stood over there, then they wouldn't get knocked out, but unfortunately they do. That's actually pretty clever to make sure you don't just cheat that out, but I wish I could cheat that. Also, the Exterminator up there will try to, like, occasionally shoot out at you, but since you're, like, all the way down here, or at least that's what I'm doing, then he basically won't be able to hit you because he can never get a proper angle. Oh, did the enemies actually run out? Oh, they do. Okay, well, I guess that helps out a little bit. Leaves a little bit less time being wasted just sitting there in one particular spot. But at the same time, well, editing should still be fine. I'll be able to edit out most of it as long as I don't talk over it. But of course, we need to destroy those machines, as RJ said earlier. That way, less and less enemies will actually be, you know, corrupted. I'm pretty sure it doesn't actually affect anything in the level, though. Like, that's just a thing for, like, goodness sake, just to get through the actual game. And thankfully, this is also spawning a gun, so this makes this, like, slightly easier because I can literally just do this. And this basically hits, like, almost all the enemies at the same time, so... Alright, there we go. Again, I'm cutting all this out because it's really boring to just sit here and watch me just defeat the same enemies over and over and over until they're all defeated. That way I can take care of this. Honestly, I can take care of this just fine, even if the enemies show up, because they don't continuously show up, like, over and over. As long as you don't defeat anything, then no more will actually spawn. I see a lot of CDs here. It's kind of weird, but it's fine. I'm not gonna get all the CDs in the game, though. Now, there might actually be a set amount of enemies to each of these particular things, so if there's 12 for every single one, which there would be 4 of, then that would actually make a little bit of sense, but at the same time, it's like, I don't really know. 48 enemies is definitely a specific number, so maybe it is actually, like, defeat all the enemies in every single one, and there's 12 in every single segment. That's weird. It only spawned, like... Okay, there they are. I was about to say, it only spawned 3. Hammy is freaking out over there. Okay. I guess he was trying to defeat the enemy or something. Where is he? There he is. He got knocked all the way back here. Alright, there we go. Got all the enemies coming up here to get this health. And then we can run back down. I don't see the Exterminator shooting all that much, by the way. He kind of just sits there. I don't really know if that's just because I'm not paying that much attention, but even right now, when I'm destroying the thing, he's not really shooting at me. I guess he just doesn't care too much. Especially with how much time I'm wasting trying to defeat all the enemies in the game. But last segment, meaning the last bit of enemies we have to defeat. And that also means I'm pretty... Well, actually, no. I think there's actually, like, another area after this that we have to do. Which means more potential for CDs. I don't think there's 6, though. I know I've missed 1 so far. However many I've missed completely, I don't actually know. I know I've missed at least 1, though. Okay, if I stand here... Yeah, if I stand here, this is actually really good. I can't be, like, right up against the spot, but I can be, like, slightly in front of it. Because that's actually, like, pretty good. It covers enemies that spawn and sometimes enemies that get knocked away. So that's really good. Too bad it's literally the final segment that I learned that, but... Okay, there we go. So it was every single enemy in this entire segment. Oh goodness, that took a long time, but we are finally good. Just have to dodge. Oh my goodness, he fired off a lot of shots there, but just have to take care of this. Come on. And there we go. Yeah, of course he's still going to be shooting at us. So what we have to do is basically we have to spam our projectiles up into that thing. However, that little... I don't know what to call it. There's something like around it that will constantly be... If I could jump over this, that would be nice. There we go. But anyways, now we have to be up here so that we can aim at this. But however, the thing will constantly be turning. That way we'll have to actually move around so that we can destroy the thing. Because if we aim at the actual thing around it, then... we're basically doing no damage. And also, there's something over here shooting us, which is very, you know, nice. Get out of the way. You know what? I've already defeated as many enemies as possible. We don't really have to deal with that. Let's just do this. And yeah, this is kind of a morbid way to get rid of the Exterminator. Have that just fall on his head. That's, quite child-friendly, but it's fine. You know, honestly, I think it would be more efficient for him to probably just run up here and chase after us instead of shooting at us, but whatever. It would definitely put him in a much safer position rather than just shooting there while he's underneath there. And Hammy also died, so that's a little bit dangerous. I need to be extremely careful from now on, otherwise I have a high potential to die. Oh no, I got frozen, please. Okay, more health. Nice. There are some pieces around here, so make sure you collect those, otherwise you're gonna have a rather bad time. This boss is actually pretty easy, not even gonna lie. I missed that. Actually, let me get this first. I just want to get all the extra goodies I can, like right before I end the game. And boom.
Heather, it's me,
safe and sound. I believe that's our cue to evacuate this university before it becomes a mushroom cloud.
So many stars, so many planets, so much burn. The horror.
By the way, I have no idea what it was just a racetrack. I'm upset, but yeah, I have no idea what the Exterminator is saying there. It's very strange. But the last unlockable, we have to get every other objective in the game. Again, I have no idea what it is. It's probably another mini game thing, but I don't really care.
Thanks for coming for me, Uncle RJ.
Please, it was on the way. Whoa!
This isn't over yet! I've had my cheeks singed by bigger animals than you'll ever be! Come on, we have to get after them. Call in the SWAT team.
Naturally, Vern was against the whole idea.
As usual, RJ's plan consisted of, let's just go wherever the danger is and hope for the best.
Plus, I ate some cheese fries this one time.
Enough sitting around. Who wants to dance with a skunk?
Oh, my little striped passion flower.
Hey, where have you been the entire game?
This next dance
It is kind of weird. I don't know why they only mention him now.
is mine.
See? Told you there. All she needed was a good fella.
Close enough.
Little reference to the movie. I like it.
I can't thank you enough for saving her. You are my heroes.
You would have done it for us.
No, but I would now.
But I would now.
Oh, it's getting to be about
Low-key a little relatable, but
Yep,
first day of winter tomorrow.
yep.
Hey, you know, we only have 38 bags of nachos.
Yep.
Gonna be a long winter, leap year and all.
What are you trying to say?
I'll get the wagon.
Way ahead of you.
and now Vern is officially behind the idea of let's go wherever the danger is. And of course I have to go somewhere else in order to get the credits, I think. That or they're loading. Nope, they did not load. Okay, that's unfortunate, but we have finally beaten the game, and I don't want to hear them. But they're also playing Madagascar right now. Again, a lot of self-promotion, but we have now done almost everything. We have a bunch of other objectives that we haven't done, but regardless, I need to actually go back to the main menu so that I'm able to actually play the credits. That way I can give my little review. Alright, so here's the credits. You have to go all the way out here in order to get the credits. So, time for my little review. I don't know if this song is copyrighted. It shouldn't be. I hope not. But regardless, okay, so one of the major gripes that I have with this game is that there's not really any form of level up system when it comes to the game, which I feel like could help a lot. Because one thing that you could easily do throughout the game, which would make this way shorter than it actually is if I did do it, is that you can skip most of the fights in the game by literally just walking past them. There's not really any form of reason to go and defeat them, because any form of power ups or upgrades that you can literally get from walking around or destroying things and picking up the cookie boxes or the what is the cylinder of chips. So there's not really any reason to defeat enemies other than to get health, but even then, again, there's health that also drops in certain parts of the game, so you don't need that either. But if there was a level up system like in most RPGs where you defeat enemies, you get experience and all that, and then you put those experience towards health, damage you do, maybe defense, who knows, but stuff like that, projectile damage and all that, then it would actually be more worth it to defeat the enemies and also give yourself a little bit more of a reason to actually defeat the enemies. But if you don't really care about that, then there's no reason to stay behind and defeat the enemies. But if you do go past them, then you're really missing out on a decent amount of the fun of the game. So there is that. But there were some times that I did just run past the enemies, so yeah, that is something that you do need to avoid, because just as a game, that's really bad. Because the whole point, well, most of the point of the game, because that's what most of the game takes place in, is fighting. So if the whole fighting, if the whole purpose of fighting, which is let's say 75% of the game, that's 75% of the game that you can just skip. Or at least 50%. There are some times where you can't skip fights, but those are bosses, and then there are some other segments where you're not able to actually skip enemies, but there's a decent amount of parts where you can. Now, in terms of the like little things that you could earn. Maybe if there was like a shop or something, because they did end up bringing in the Blue Jay, because that's not in the movie. Well, that guy's not in the movie. But if the Blue Jay guy could actually work as like a shop and you could purchase the mini games or power-ups that you wanted, then that would actually be a little bit decent. I don't know what you would use as currency though, probably food, but even then it is a little weird and having to try and figure that out. But at the same time, I do wish that you would be able to choose out what particular things that you wanted instead of it being set to particular things, because most people would probably get like all of the power-ups for the single player first and then get the multiplayer games afterwards, but even then it's somewhat okay. Now, in terms of like the mini games, I don't really care too much for them, especially the racing one. The racing one's really bad. The bumper cart one is actually, it's okay, but like I guess I'm just having a little bit of nostalgia, mainly because of the things I did in that, and it was always just really fun playing that with my brother. But other than that, that one's just okay. And then the target practice one, or target range, I'm forgetting the exact name, but if you're not using RJ or Vern, don't bother, because you're setting yourself up for a lot of failure. But honestly, the main game is definitely in the campaign, which is expected, so that's fine. But in terms of everything else, there's not really too much that's too enjoyable aside from the not go-karts, it's the bumper carts, like I said before. Now, in terms of like stuff that you can do at the hedge, there's not really much aside from mess with the hats, which doesn't really do anything because you're not actually in the combat, and you can't bring the hats into the levels either. And there's not really much else you can do. You can like look at the laptop, the TV, all the stuff that you brought with you throughout your journey, but you're not really able to do anything with them. If you were able to like play another little extra game or something like that, that would actually have been pretty cool and would have led to a little bit more of extra playtime, or just something a little extra that you could have messed around with, but it's not really all that much. But in terms of like increasing the playtime, there is the objectives that you could do. Some of them are more difficult and a lot more demanding than others, but most of them are pretty manageable. I almost got most of them like throughout this playthrough, so it's not really that bad. I only missed 10, so. And then for the CDs, I missed like about 10 CDs when I went through this Let's Play. So again, it's not all that difficult to get too many of them. It's just that you have to know where they are and the most effective way to do some of these things. Some of them are just really demanding, like I said, but at the same time, it's not all that bad. Now, just as a license-based games, because license-based games usually get a really bad rap, especially like around the time that these kind of games were coming out, because they were usually able to be used for an easy cash grab. This one's not really all that bad. Like, aside from the point that I mentioned before, where as a game, with the fact that you can just run past a lot of the enemies, that's pretty bad. But other than that, it's pretty solid. I mean, its gameplay is pretty fluent, and it's not really too repetitive, but it does service good enough as an actual game where you can still have some pretty good enjoyability from it. It's more of a kind of guilty pleasure kind of game where you kind of know that it's not exactly the best game, and it's not a game that you can take too seriously, but at the same time, it does itself pretty well, and there is some good jokes here and there. It's not exactly like the movie, but at the same time, it's pretty good. And it also has a plot that's not exactly like how it is in the movie, because most license-based games also go off of the movie, which isn't a bad thing. But that is something that proves that Over the Hedge could go over and beyond when it comes to having the story. And it also managed to implement a good amount of the characters pretty well with Vincent, and Tiger wasn't even... I kind of forgot Tiger was even in this game, to be honest. I didn't even mention him when I first Let's Play this game back on my old channel, which I mentioned like way earlier on, but... oh goodness. It was good to go back over this game again and finally get it done. But, you know, it's crazy how long it has been since I first started doing YouTube. It's been like almost 4 years, like legitimately since I started, which would be back on the old channel. So I guess it would be like 4, maybe even 5 years. I'm not entirely sure about that, but regardless, Oh goodness. Also, voice acting in this game, it's very iffy from time to time. Like, the Exterminator, he has some really iffy lines when it comes to the voice acting, but then again, you don't really care too much about the voice acting in this game, mainly because it's just a kid's game. It's not all that important to have, like, super supreme voice acting, but, oh goodness. There were definitely some times where the voice acting was pretty bad. But, again, overall, it's a pretty solid game. Pretty solid. But again, I've stated before that the best characters to play as are RJ and Vern. A little bit debatably, RJ's still my favorite, at least, to play. He might actually be the best, considering how his, like, special combo works. But for Hammy and Stella, Stella's the worst character to play as. And Hammy and Stella are below RJ and Vern because they're a projectile for one. That's automatically a D rank. And then how their special combo works with the lag on it. Goodness, I hate it so much. But regardless, that was Over the Hedge, and we are finally done with this game. Now, in terms of how this is edited, it will either be that this will be 2 parts, or it will just be one long finale. And finales for Let's Plays are usually long anyways, so if it ends up being like 45 minutes, then that will be fine. But I doubt it'll be 45 minutes, maybe 40. I think 40 is actually a pretty decent number. If it ends up being 45, then that's kind of surprising, considering how much I am going to be editing out. But who knows. But anyways, that was Over the Hedge. It took a long time for this game to be... it took a long time for this game to get completed, and that's rather unfortunate. However, it finally got done, and now I have to deal with Ratchet & Clank, because I'm only going to be doing one Let's Play at a time. Because I'll leave my update video in the description of this, so make sure you check that out after this. But anyways, I'm only going to be doing one Let's Play at a time and not 2. So I have to get to Ratchet & Clank, and then I'll get to whatever else after that. But regardless, until the next Let's Play, until the next video, to the next whatever it is that you see me, take care.